Hey guys, Marco here, and today we're going to be talking about the Variant by Vicious Ant. So what we have is the Slim Titanium Edition running version 1.6 firmware. So this is the packaging that it comes in. Nice little box, well, big box rather. So the device sits here, and it comes with a few spares. So it has some heat shrink tubing and some contacts for your battery in case you fuck it up. So you have two chances to screw up. It comes with two of each. Well, anyway, the device is a variable voltage slash variable wattage device. It's regulated, and it is an absolute piece of work. Just by looking at it, you can tell it looks heavy, but it really isn't, because it is made of grade 5 titanium, dominantly. So the casing is made of grade 5 titanium. Okay, it runs 100 millimeters tall, 24 millimeters thick, and 43 millimeters wide. So it's pretty hefty, but it isn't heavy. So that's always good. Has your tactile firing switch right here, stainless steel. It has a LED indicator up top, so it flashes green when it's firing nice and good, and it flashes red if there's no contact or if your atomizer is shorted. And when I had a short one time, the device sort of vibrated as well, so I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen, but it did happen to me. So the display is a 1.3-inch OLED display, giving you all the information you need to know and some tidbits that are just nice to know but aren't absolutely necessary. So I have it running in variable wattage mode. So here we have my wattage, my resistance right here at 0.42 ohm. Tells me how many volts I'm firing at, and the amps that I'm pulling. Need to know information, or good to know information, is how many puffs you've taken, which is based on how many times you've depressed the firing switch. You're going to see it going up each time I do. There. It has a timer. It tells you how long you've been using it, and your battery indicator here in percentage, which decreases in increments of 5%. Okay? The buttons, not sure if you can see it because they're pretty recessed and they're black as well. There are 3 buttons running across the front of the device which control the voltage or wattage depending on what setting you're on, up and down. So the one on the left goes down, the one on the right toggles it up, and the center button which acts as your power switch. So you hold it for 5 seconds and the device goes off. You hold it for 5 again and you turn it back on, tells you what firmware you're running, and it has that nice Vicious Ant logo. Okay, now for specs in terms of output power, it can go from 5 watts up to 250 watts, or if you're in variable voltage mode, it goes from 2 volts all the way up to 8.4. Admittedly, I've never tried maxing it out. I've never fired it at the maximum settings that it says it can do. It has a 30 amp maximum current output, and it cuts off at 15 seconds if you have the fire switch depressed for too long. I'm not going to do it because I might dry out my coils. Anyway, let's toggle a bit. So 5 clicks on the power button, or the center button, takes you to the next mode. So it's going to go to pulse mode after variable wattage. Let's start from the top. So when you turn the device on after you install the battery, it starts in variable voltage mode. So you can increase your voltage in increments of 0.1 or 0.10 volts if you want to be particular about it, and decrease it in the same number of increments with each click. By holding each button down, it goes up significantly faster. Okay, so all of a sudden I'm at 8.4, which I don't want to be at. So let's drag it back down. Okay, there you go. 5 clicks, and it takes me to variable wattage, which I prefer. Because with variable wattage, your output voltage adjusts accordingly depending on your desired output wattage. So for variable wattage, I usually run drippers at about 32.5 watts, or we can go 33 for this video. Okay. Another 5 clicks takes me to pulse mode, which I use for builds. So if you're building your coils and you want to get them glowing nice and even, you can crank this up so that you get to fire it and your coils glow out. You can just adjust them that way. Admittedly, I don't use this function very often, but when I do, it's pretty fun to use. It's nice to have it as an option if I do decide I want to do that. So for this video, I'm going to run it at about 4.2 volts. Okay, I have a dripper built with a dual coil, and we are going to soak it up a bit, vape on it, then talk about the pros and cons. I'm going to show you how to lock the device as well. You lock your settings, and how to put it in stealth mode as well after I take a few hits, because I really need to vape. Okay. All right, 4.2 volts, so that's 42 watts, higher than I normally vape, but just for fun. We're pulling 10 amps at a 0.42 ohm resistance. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so how to lock the device. By locking, it doesn't lock the firing function, but it does lock your settings. So what you do is you press the center button and then hit the fire button at the same time and let go. You're going to see that it says locked right here. So it locks your settings, that way you can't toggle it up and down, and you can't switch modes either. Oh, you can. You can switch modes, but it would still be locked at 42 watts, or whatever your wattage is. Okay? To put it in stealth mode, you do the same. Hold the center button, then the fire button, and poof, it's in stealth mode, but it's still working. There you go. If you want to put it back in a mode where you have a display, just do it again. And there you go. It's no longer locked, you can still toggle, and you have your OLED display reading everything that it normally does. The stealth mode or power saving mode is not something I activate very often for two reasons. One, it doesn't save that much power, and two, it's always nice to have that display. It's part of what you're paying for, people, so might as well maximize it, right? Okay, so that's basically how the device functions. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about one last thing before I shut the device off. When you take the battery out or you replace your batteries, everything resets back to the lowest possible setting. So when you turn it back on, all your counters are back to 0, so your timer and your puff counter go down to 0, and your wattage or your voltage when you turn it on is at the lowest, which is 2 volts. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off, show you the inside, then we're going to dive into the pros and cons. Okay, so it is off, which I normally do before I take the battery out. Slide the door down, and it exposes that. Okay, so it's not the neatest wiring there is. You can take the battery out simply by pulling it. So you're going to notice the grooves are on opposite ends, or the teeth are on opposite ends. So when you pop it in, you're just going to want to tuck the battery like so, attach the connectors, and have them sit nice and snug inside, and tuck that little lead down there. It uses lithium poly batteries, 3-cell batteries, similar to what you would use for some airsoft gun models, and just tuck it in nice and snug. So it sits nice and flush. There isn't any spacing or anything like that. Nothing noticeable anyway. And you can turn the device back on once you have the batteries popped in. Okay? That's pretty much it for the internals and how it functions. So yeah, it sits pretty nice and tight. It's pretty easy to pop back in. Just have to make sure the leads aren't messed up. Just want to make sure that we have everything nice and snug. So I'm going to take it out because I won't be using the device any further. Now we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the device. Pro number 1 is that it is an absolutely amazing looking device. It is pretty. It is it's very elegant. It looks expensive, and it is, but I'd say it's if you had the money for it, it's definitely worth it. So very sleek finish. The titanium makes it very light in spite of its size. It's pretty big, okay, but it's not heavy, and I've talked about that enough. Pro number 2 is the options that it gives you is just astounding. It's just really fun to have that much power at your disposal in case you want to give it a shot, or in case you're the type who vapes super sub-ohm on a full mech and you want that consistency from your batteries, or from your device rather. Definitely a good device to have because it gives you that much flexibility. I like the function that you can switch between variable voltage and variable wattage mode, because I prefer wattage because usually I vape on a tank. So, I like the consistency that the device gives me. I like the fact that I can get, decent performance out of it, and it's consistent all throughout. From fully charged to your battery is fucked, you're fine. I mean, it's going to run very consistently. That's probably the best aspect of having a regulated device, is that you get a consistent vape all throughout. Now we're going to move into the cons, and I have to admit, although it is a beautiful device, it is an astounding piece of work, it is not without its flaws. And I'm going to talk about con number 1, which is the battery. Lithium poly. I'm not a big fan for a number of reasons. First reason is that it has pretty crappy battery life. I'm not a big fan of this runs at 1000 milliamperes. 1000 milliamp hours for a device that can go up to 250 watts. It just isn't going to work. I can't see it. I can't see myself vaping above 20, 30 watts and getting decent battery life out of it. When I vape at 20 watts on my tank, I get about 200 to 250 pulls based on the counter. Those are about 2 to 3 second mouth to lung inhales. When I vape on a dripper at about 30 to 40 watts, I get about 120 to 150 pulls. So that's about an hour and a half or an hour and 10 minutes, roughly about. But the battery life isn't exactly competent. I would have preferred if this ran in dual 18650 for two reasons. One, lithium poly batteries mean you cannot charge it overnight. Okay, you can't fall asleep at the wheel. You can't have this charging and not be minding your charger. You got to take it out as soon as it's fully charged. That is a drawback for me because I run a pretty busy day, and usually when I get home, I'm just too hammered. I just want to charge it. Con number two is that it isn't a universal battery. So if you have several devices that run on 18 series or 26 series batteries, you're going to have to get another charger and probably some spare batteries because the device doesn't have a USB charging function, which is con number two, major con number two for me. With battery life as low as 1000 milliamp hours, I would have absolutely loved it if it had a USB charging function because I want to be able to use the device. This is a device that when you have one, you're not going to want to put it down. It's a really fun device to use. It's consistent. It's absolutely gorgeous, and you're going to want to have this in your hand, vaping as often as possible. It's going to become your go-to mod if you own one. If you own one, you're going to want to use it all day, and a USB charging port would have been fun. It's not all that safe compared to say chargers like an X-Star or a Pila charger, a Nightcore or something like that, but at least you have the option to use it while it's charging. A pass-through, a USB pass-through, something like that would have been awesome if the device was equipped with one like that. And that for me was a major con. Con number three is selective, but yeah, I have to mention it because some people may comment on it as well. The device is pretty pricey. It is at $650 US. So price point is sort of way up there, almost as much as about an iPhone or something like that. But if I had the money for it, I probably would buy one. If it wasn't sent to me for free and I had the money for it, yes, I would. It's a gorgeous device. The flexibility it gives you is just superb. The consistency is amazing. It's a lovely, lovely piece of vaping technology. It's very fun to own. And if I had the money, I would buy it. Yes, to be honest, if I had the money to splurge, I would. But price point has to be mentioned as a bit of a con because it is sort of way up there. But enough about that. I'm sure that people who have experienced the device and have the money for it will definitely go pick it up because it's a very fun device to own. Absolutely pretty, amazing performance. And that's at the end of the day, if it works for you, if you have the money for it, go right for it. As long as it works for you, it keeps you off the analogs, then it's all good, right? So that's me, and it could vary from person to person depending on your budget or your preference. But ultimately it's up to the consumer. So if you got the money for it, go for it. So that's about it for the Variant. I've been using it for about a month. I got this on December 10th, so a little over a month now. I'd say I haven't encountered any glaring problems with it. One cool thing about it is part of what you're paying for is the customer support that Vicious Ant gives its customers. I really can't say anything about it, not because they're good friends of mine, but these people, I have not heard of anyone they left hanging. If your device, anything you purchase from them has an issue, they address it right away. And the cool thing is they don't charge for firmware updates on this thing. If you want to update the firmware, you just send it to them and they're going to update it. You will have to pay for the shipping cost, of course, but it's not like you have to purchase, they will not milk you for your money when it comes to this device because once you pick one up, any updates for it come in the form of firmware, which they provide for free. You just have to send it to them so they can check your device and make sure it's legit. But that's pretty cool because rather than releasing a version 1 today and a version 2 a couple of months later and have consumers have to keep buying and shitting money just to get the latest version, they made it available for free. It's just that it's going to be a one-time big purchase. So that's actually a cool feature because, hell, I don't want to spend $200-300 every, what, 2 or 3 months just to get the updated version of a device that I already own if they could have provided me the update for free. I mean, I'm getting fucked if that was the case, right? So it's a one-time purchase that you can easily have them update, and customer support has been astounding. Prior to me meeting them in person, I did purchase a few Vicious Ant products previously, and the customer support was just wow. So I really got handed them. Elegant device, superb customer support. Ultimately, that's what would sway a decision to buy or not to buy, is will these people be around for a long time? And yeah, these guys have been in the game for pretty long. It's been about 2.5 years, going on 3, I believe. And they haven't steered me wrong, or anyone I know who owns Vicious Ant products. So I can say with absolute certainty they're not going to fuck you over if you do invest in one of their products. It's always a worthwhile investment, something you're going to want to look into and experience for yourself. So that's pretty much it for the Variant. Huge thanks to Team Vicious Ant for sending this over for review. I am thoroughly enjoying it, and I hope that anyone who picks one up as a result of this video does too, because my word, it is absolutely fucking astounding. So that's it for today. I'm gonna probably put out a couple more videos on other products later on, but catch y'all soon, alright? Vape hard, fellas. Cheers.